Hi everyone, Sane here. This video is brought to you by a donation from Cal, and here's what he has to say. Hi Sandman, my topic is simple. What is your advice for a 50-year-old man who has a live-in girlfriend of 12 years and wants to start all over again? After several years of non-stop cluster B joy from my girlfriend, I certainly have wised up. Since my options are less than when I was 30 years of age, I'm curious what your suggestion would be. Perhaps find a lady with a house or something to offer. I would like healthy companionship, and thank you. Well, Cal, thanks for your donation as well as your topic request. I recently did a video called What Does She Bring to the Table, and I can honestly tell you from my experience, as well as the experiences of others, that very few women out there bring very much to the table. I explained how women that have assets like, say, a house usually try to trap a man with the money or home so he is reliant on her. Otherwise, the majority of women, I'd say about 60 to 80%, have zero to no assets and have tons of unhealthy liabilities. I've known some men that got married to women that had their own paid-off homes, and usually they got those properties in a divorce or the husband died if they were older. Just because she's a woman with a house to offer doesn't mean that you know where it came from. It doesn't give her an DeWalt halo over her head. With regards to the title of this video, The 50-Year-Old Girlfriend, the reason I selected this is not clickbait. Cal, you need to understand that no matter how good looking you are or rich you are, eventually you're going to be stuck with the 50-year-old hag for a girlfriend. My suggestion is for you to make the choice that you're comfortable with, and I'm not actually a registered therapist or life coach, and I'm not telling you exactly what to do. All I can do is share the possible outcomes based on the choices that you make. The first thing to consider is that right now, you're with the devil that you know versus the devil that you don't know. What happened to me when I was 35 years of age and ended my longest relationship, I started meeting other women and saw that they were much worse than any of the things that my ex-girlfriend had to offer. Two of the new women were so crazy that they actually tried shaming me into getting them pregnant. Sure, the woman you're with right now is crazy, and you might have actually stuck your dick into a woman that is relatively sane to begin with, but when you pulled out, she was crazy. So that old line, don't stick your dick in crazy, should be more like this, and I quote, "When you put your dick in, make sure when you pull it out, she's not crazy." Cal, what I suspect is going to happen if you dump your cluster B joy girl is that you'll actually date many women, and you'll stay with them for a while and then realize they're a lot worse than the woman you might have left behind. Over the last 12 years, the world has changed and you don't have any dating experience with Tinder, plenty of fish, and how women have taken crazy up a few notches. Their expectations have also gone way off the charts while their bust lines have gone way down. You might actually love the woman that you're with right now, and because of that, you don't see many of her flaws. But if you meet a new woman out there and presuming that most of them will be in their late 30s and early 40s, and they'll probably have their own babies already, or they'll be getting their baby rabies stage, you'll have to find a way to qualify women until you find the one that you're looking for, the magical woman that will basically be the needle in the haystack. Maybe you want her to never have had kids. Maybe you want her to have property, maybe a job so she doesn't mooch off of you. As you get older, the women that are any good have basically been snatched up pretty quickly. Maybe you don't want her to be crazy. Maybe you don't want her to be fat. Remember that 60% of the women in the over 30 age bracket are probably already married, and the other 40%, let's say 10 to 20%, are already in relationships. That leaves you only 20% of women, and most of those are probably not all that good with regards to selection. Also, if they divorce their husbands, then there's something wrong with them. Your pickings are pretty slim. You could also do what women do, which is pretty much try to monkey branch. Start looking for a woman now, but remain in the relationship that you're in right now, but that's actually bad because you actually start a relationship with regards to infidelity and lies instead of the truth. You could always lie to this new woman and meet her and say that you're still single. I don't know how you'd pull that off, but it's certainly a possibility. At this point, the odds are pretty high that if you leave this woman you've been living with for 12 years, you're going to remain single for the rest of your life, and that's just statistics. I'll tell you that as a man who hasn't dated anyone for about a year now, it gets better when you're alone in many ways. So long as you have family and friends for companionship, the desire to chase females for companionship goes down, especially if they are emotionally abusing you like this woman that you're currently with. Then there's the option of taking a breather after this relationship and finding your bearings and deciding what you want to do from there. You might find out that you're not all that thirsty for female company. I know that with many older couples that I know that are often friends with my parents, the people stay together because of fear of never finding anyone else again. Secondly, they fear the social stigma and consequences of being alone. If you leave the woman you're currently with, have you thought about how your mutual friends, her friends, are going to respond to you dumping her? You say she has cluster B personality, but wait until your ex realizes that you dumped her because you wanted to trade her in for a newer model. It doesn't matter if you tell her that's the reason or not because she's crazy and she's still going to try and destroy your social relations with people because of her personality problems. I know you want to find a good companion, but at the end of the day, you might need to accept that there really isn't such a thing out there. All women demand something from you, and the one you're with might be good in many ways except the crazy part. But I know that kind of matters to you, doesn't it? I don't know how much you actually remember about dating in the past, but besides changing today, it's also incredibly emotionally draining. You have to invest a lot of time and effort to find somebody new. There's also the possibility of never finding another woman out there that has what this one has. For me, it was worth the risk leaving my ex-girlfriend because there were many things I wanted in life that I wasn't getting from her, so I don't regret that. But for you, it might be a completely different situation if you've already done the things that you want to do and are now simply emotionally needy. You also need to understand that women in general these days have much higher expectations for men than they did roughly 10 to 15 years ago. Being in the relationship you're in now is sort of like an isolated time bubble. You nor your girlfriend are changing and advancing with the dating technologies. I know women in their 40s now using Tinder that are so hypergamous that they've gone completely wild. They have the ability to reach out to so many men out there that their hunt is never quite over. In the past, they would have found a guy, and if he was somewhat good, they would have stuck it out with him like glue. But today, with so many options to unglue themselves from you and find another man, that's most likely to happen. I predict, Cal, that if you actually stop living with your girlfriend, you will meet plenty of new women. You'll also have a lot less sex overall, but your variety of sexual partners will probably go up. You might find it good if you've never actually had the variety, but it will also diminish your chances of having a strong emotional bond with one woman if that's really what you want. It's scary out there because most of the women that I've met over the last few years were never married, never had kids, and their relationships were mostly ones that lasted anywhere from a few months to a few years. You will exit into a dating market where you'll basically be naive, and women will sense this, and they will try and trap you as quickly as possible if you're a good catch. You need to be aware of that as well because it's kind of crazy how women wanted to move in with me quickly and start having babies and get married. Even the older women close to 50 are behaving in that sort of way. I hope you see that even if you find a woman that you're looking for by some sort of miracle, she's probably going to basically want to tie the knot at some point. That's a very real possibility. If you make a list of roughly 20 things that you want this woman to have, then from the available pool of women out there, the list will be extremely small. You'd have better luck hanging out at funeral homes waiting for women to bury their husbands. At least you know that she's got a house for sure. Or possibly become a divorce counselor or something similar part-time so you can scoop up some women that are dealing with genuinely physically abusive husbands. You basically become the white knight coming in for the rescue. You have to look at finding new companionship by a numbers game. You're going to have to meet hundreds if not thousands of women before you find one that might be actually a good catch, and the kicker is, you could basically find yourself with another cluster B crazy in only a few short years. She could pretty much just be hiding it. If I could go back to my 10-year relationship and choose all over again what I would do, I would have basically taken my ex-girlfriend's suggestion at the time and stayed in my place, and she kept hers, and then I would have gone ahead and had a surrogate kid, regardless of if she wanted me to or not. After all, it would basically be my place in my life. The problem is, every time I start living with a woman, a year or two goes by, and I become emotionally unstable and unhappy, and then it's time to leave. Maybe that's what happened between you and your girlfriend as well. You asked me for my advice, and besides what I've already suggested, I think you're not going to find what you're looking for because at your age, the pool of available women out there is rather tiny. You have a tough choice with regards to what to do. Your choice is to stay with a crazy woman for the rest of your days, but at least it's a crazy that you do know. Or the second option is to go out in Tinderland and try to find a mediocre woman for companionship from a crazy pool of ham beasts that look like Rosie O'Donnell. Cal, the real reason you're probably sending me this donation and asking this question is because you're stuck. You know that deep down inside, if you stay with this woman, you're making a bad choice. But if you look for someone new, then you might actually be making an even worse choice, or you could get lucky. Think back to Dirty Harry and ask yourself, do you feel lucky? Well, do you, punk? It's a gamble at this point. I took that same gamble in my life, and not only didn't I actually find anyone better, but I also realized that it's not even worth looking for female companionship anymore. The really courageous choice is, can you live without a woman in your life at the age of 50? I did it in my 30s, and I think it's possible for you to do the same in your 50s as well and go your own way. Think of it this way, if you leave the woman that you're with and you don't find an adequate replacement, we will welcome you into the men going their own way community and philosophy. We all want to make the choices in our lives that end up working out perfectly from every single perspective. When we find ourselves caught up in a situation where we can't have everything we want, then we end up getting stumped. Personally, I want a family, and it would be great to have a woman by my side that wouldn't screw me over or nag or argue or do anything negative. But I know that she doesn't exist. I've accepted this, and I will look at other alternative ways to basically have a family. A marriage or live-in relationship simply isn't for me, and I've made peace with that, and I also see the benefits outweigh the negatives by the margin of 3-1 based on my choice. I see that women get nastier physically and mentally as they age, and I don't want to deal with that. Cal, you also need to do a cost-benefit analysis. You know what you have to lose at this point, and I think you need to know what you actually have to gain. I'm telling you to keep your mind open with regards to what life blows your way. Just over 3.5 years ago, I didn't have anything to say about women or female nature, and I was a needy guy that needed a relationship for my own sanity. Now I don't anymore. The last time I saw my ex-girlfriend, I told her that I wouldn't be dating anyone for a very long time, and she simply didn't believe it. She thought I would be married with kids within a year, and I guess I not only proved her wrong, but I also grew as a person. Cal, the odds are that if you leave this woman, you won't actually be able to find the woman that you're looking for, but you might find something even better, yourself. You might learn things about yourself that you never knew, and you might also find happiness if you crawl your way out of a hairy snatch addiction and become a better version of yourself. In the past, men had the courage to fight wars and die in battles. Men today are too scared to be alone. That's how cowardly we've become as a sex. The decision is yours to make, and I made a similar one 3.5 years ago, and I have regretted it less than I thought, and it's made me more courageous and a complete person. So ask yourself, do you feel lucky? Anyways, that's all I've got to say for today. Thanks again, Cal, and hopefully I've given you some different courses of action to think about. Also, don't forget to check out the MGTOW mystery link, as well as thumbs up this video. As for everyone else out there, please follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills. And remember, a red pill a day keeps the lowered expectations away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.